time is going to extend beyond you. It's going to go to your children, your children's children. You're leaving a legacy for generations to come.
This is the How to Quit Working Show. Jeff Steinman believes entrepreneurship is the only true path to freedom. That's why he created the How to Quit Working Show, where you'll hear stories, insights, and inspiration from lifestyle fanatics who left their soul-sucking 9-to-5 job forever. Now, here's your host, author, entrepreneur, and ultimate lifestyle fanatic, Jeff Steinman.
Hello and welcome to the How to Quit Working Show. Today we've got a great show. We're going to be talking to Daphne Mallory. Now, Daphne is a Black entrepreneur who we are highlighting this month for Black Entrepreneur Month and Black History Month in February of 2015. I'm excited to be talking to Daphne because she is an expert on family business and she is super passionate about entrepreneurship, and she's going to give us a new perspective that we've never talked about on the How to Quit Working Show, and that's around family business. I mean, a lot of folks might say, I don't want to work with my family, or a lot of people also say, I would love to work with my family. Regardless of which situation you're in, listen to this show because Daphne's going to give us a great perspective on family business, entrepreneurship in general, and what it's like to be from actually one of the poorest countries in Africa and now be a successful entrepreneur here in the U.S. Great show coming up. Before we jump into that, I got to remind you that we are doing a live webinar this Saturday. So if you go to howtoquitworking.com/webinar, you're going to find out how to actually get on to a live webinar with me where I'm going to be talking through some of the most common questions that I get about starting a business while you're still working your full-time job. And a couple of things that always come up are, Jeff, how am I supposed to start a business and jump off a cliff and take that leap when I have got bills to pay, and the way that I pay those bills is through my job? And I totally understand that question. And what we're going to talk about is how to identify and validate a business idea before you ever even quit your job. So you can actually, when the time is right to quit your job, you can actually have a business idea that you figured out and people have already given you money for. And that's the main crux to what we're going to talk about in this webinar, as well as tons of other great nuggets of information. And a couple of those things are, we're going to talk about some of the mindset things, some of the things that are going on in your head that are stopping you from being successful, as well as this whole idea of a business idea. And what if you don't have a business idea? Because that's another thing that I hear a lot is, Jeff, I don't know what business I would start. You don't need a business idea to get started. If you have one, we can talk about how to validate it. If you don't have one, we'll talk about how to get one and then validate it and be sure that it's good before you actually quit your job. Huge tons of valuable information on this webinar that we're going to be doing on Saturday. So go to howtoquitworking.com/webinar and get more information and get registered for that. Space is limited, so head over there as quickly as possible and get signed up for that at howtoquitworking.com/webinar. And I look forward to actually seeing and interacting with you in person on Saturday. Now, without any further ado, let's get to Daphne Mallory. Daphne, welcome to the How to Quit Working Show.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. One of the things that I love about having folks like you on the show is you give us two blows of awesomeness. And the one is that we get to hear about your journey from your career as an attorney to starting your own business, but then we also get some really practical, actionable advice because you're kind of an expert on family businesses.
Yes. I hope I could definitely provide very specific strategic advice. And that's what I was missing in my career. Perhaps even I would have stayed working just a little longer if I had more strategic advice. But, I had that entrepreneurial spirit and I had to go and search for things on my own. And so there was a lot of trial and error. And I have learned that whenever you can learn from someone else's success as well as failures, that's just a better way to pursue life and business.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about, because we love to hear stories here on the How to Quit Working show. Tell us a little bit about your career as an attorney, how that unfolded, and then how you transitioned into what you're doing now.
Absolutely. My journey actually begins in Liberia, West Africa, one of the poorest nations in Africa, unfortunately. And I left there when I was very little, around 5 or 6 years old, was sent to London for about 9 years of my life, went to private school there. And then I ultimately ended up in the United States and was in a very low income neighborhood, so it was interesting.
Okay.
And I always, because I had this journey of being in 3 different countries alone, I always had this entrepreneurial spirit, go-getter thing about me. But because I was the first generation in my family to be in the States, it was all upon me to go to college. So I thought the way to pay back this, my parents and this journey from being from Africa was to go to college and to excel. So for me, that meant going to Brown, having a pre-med degree and a English degree and a teaching degree. And I graduated thinking I wanted to be a doctor.
Wow.
And learned quickly, and I got accepted to Duke University Medical School. That was the pathway for me, and decided to take a year off. And I taught high school and realized, medical school is debt. I don't think I want to do that. And so I kind of, and the irony of that, of course, I segued to law school where there was debt, but not as much as becoming a doctor.
Okay, so law school is more expensive than doctor school.
No, less.
Oh, less.
So so it was completely a monetary decision. I thought, okay, less debt if I go to law school, which was only 3 years, than going to medical school.
I gotcha.
And yes, and I was already in the area because again, I was making plans to go to Duke Med School, already in the area. So I went to UNC Chapel Hill, and when I was in law school, I would be the one going around. Oh, so how do you start your own law practice anyway? And everyone was like, no, you don't do that. You go work for a large law firm. So I did that. I did the large law firm thing. I've clerked for a state Supreme Court. All of this stuff you're supposed to do as an attorney. Yeah. But again, inside, I just knew that wasn't for me. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But I did it just because that's the thing to do. And so when I graduated, I worked I did a stint as a special prosecutor, and that was quite interesting. Yes, I was in the courtroom doing those, dealing with crime, etc.
What was special about your job?
Oh, nothing other than being the one in the courtroom assigned to it, at the time.
Okay.
Yes, but it was just, again, the hours, and even when I did the large law firm thing for a little bit, you were pretty much expected to work 90 hours. That's how you would advance.
Yeah, well, and as a prosecutor, that's not big law firm money, right?
No, not at all. But then the hook and the promise there is, of course, that you could get loan forgiveness. And so a lot of attorneys do pursue that path as well. But again, I just had this itch. It was like, no, this is not for me. And I decided that really entrepreneurship was the way to go. And so I launched one of the first virtual law practices in my field, which was entertainment law.
Cool.
Yes, I was the one running around to the MTVs and the BMG music and all of this, getting people signed for songwriting deals and new artist deals.
Well, that sounds like really interesting work.
It was great, and I'm a creative type, so it was just amazing to kind of live vicariously through others as they were getting deals signed and all of that. I got to be behind the scenes, and in many cases, I really acted more like a manager, artist manager, than an attorney, and many entertainment lawyers do.
And how did you segue into entertainment law while you were with one of the large firms?
No, that was the thing. So I was itching for that. No, they were not offering that at 90 hours, a week billable hours. No, it was reading case law and doing, corporate work. And there was none of that. So that was my break.
So when you started your business, that's when you were able to take your law practice into a different direction, a direction that you wanted to go in, right?
Correct, exactly. It was literally a moment of, if I don't do this, I will die. And, I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel that way. You've got this dream bursting inside of you, and you do reach that. I think every single one of us will reach that moment of, if I don't pursue my dreams, I'm done. And that was the moment for me.
Wow. Tell us a little bit more about that moment. Like, when did that come? Was it like in the shower while you were driving?
Yeah, it was certainly a buildup because I would see everyone else achieving the dream and reality that I wanted to. And it was like, I could tell it would not happen for me doing 90 hours of billable work. And that's not even counting the networking that you have to do for advancement and this and that and that. And I just said, there's no way. I have to make a better choice. I have to be me or I will die. And that was when I met that moment, it was like, no, I choose to live, and just struck out on my own and did it. And I've been honored to be featured in Billboard magazine and different music publications. And I have my little Recording Academy card where I can vote on the Grammys and all of this fun, cool stuff where law and entertainment merge. And that was really what I was about and still am in many ways.
Very cool, very cool. Well, so how do you go about starting your own business? How did you go about starting your own business?
Yes. I think first and foremost, and it really is not cliche when I say this, be very clear about what you are called to do. Certainly, you can start any business. Why not? You can go and buy a franchise. You can look at a need. You know, the typical business advice is go and find a need in your community and fill it, right? Yeah. I don't believe that. I believe you should find your calling and go and fulfill that call, because sometimes, guess what? It may take you out of that community. You may decide it's not happening where I'm at, and I pursue it elsewhere. And so it really started with that for me. And then secondly, spend time on strategic planning. You know, this is before business plan. So a lot of startup advice is, you know, go and develop a business plan. Before you even get there, you should really develop a strategic plan. And there is a difference. A strategic plan is going to, you know, state your vision for your company and how you're going to accomplish that vision. Whereas the business plan is more the, you know, day-to-day ops, how it works, you know, when your money runs out, when you need more, etc. And I think a lot of startups do fail because they focus, because they're taught by, you know, consulting institutions that are out there that provide services to entrepreneurs. They're taught, do a business plan, do a a strategic plan first and get that down, and then work on a business plan if you choose to. My business plan is like 2 pages.
Okay. Well, I got a ton of questions. Okay.
Yes.
The first question that I know our listeners are wondering is, what if I don't know what my calling is?
The first thing is to figure out what bugs you. There is something that bugs you that you have an answer for, a solution for, and then you'll see the tug on your heart to find a solution to that. And it annoys you that someone else is not solving that problem.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people know what they're called to do, but then they say, well, that's really a social thing. And then they run off to the nonprofit world. No. You can be an entrepreneur and you can solve societal issues and still be paid as an entrepreneur.
Oh, but helping people that has to be done in a not-for-profit organization, right?
I get that a lot. And, you know, I sit on boards for nonprofits. I love nonprofits. But yeah, if you talk to me, I'm completely going to steer you towards entrepreneurship. And I tell people there's this thing called social business. You can solve social problems or pursue social causes and still get paid. And, you know, as a family business expert, I encourage them to do it together as a family and to get paid for generations to come. It's a beautiful thing. Get rewarded for solving problems.
Yeah, well, we could probably do a different show on this, but I do want to just stop here for a second and talk a little bit about that. Like, I think a lot of people out there want to do good in the world, and they don't know how to use entrepreneurship as a tool to do good in the world. They think that it's just a tool for making money.
Yes.
How do you structure a business that does good in the world and still makes money?
That's a great question. First and foremost, there's even a legal entity for this. Some states have it and some states don't. So I encourage your listeners to look up B Corps. That's the capital B Corp. It's a corporation specifically designed for those who want to solve social issues through entrepreneurship.
Wow.
I wish that was in my state. It's not here yet, but I sure am going to be lobbying for it.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that's that legal answer to that question. And so, you know, the first step is to definitely identify that problem that you do wish to solve, and then figure out the highest quality product or service that you'd like to provide to solve that. And then you become the trusted advisor and mentor to that market. So when anyone thinks about this problem, you're the first person that comes to mind. You're top of mind for being the solution and the trusted advisor and expert and mentor around this topic.
Okay.
And the best way to do that, I believe, is through actually publicity.
Okay.
I think that, again, a lot of these organizations that provide startup advice, they focus on, build a marketing plan. But very few really talk about building a publicity plan, which is a difference. Your problem is that people don't know you. They don't know you exist, that you want to solve this problem. So what you want to do is stand out and get visibility and attention for yourself through publicity, even more so than marketing. If you can get on television, in print, on radio, that will go miles than spending ad money or doing, only social media.
Well, that's easy for you to say, Daphne. You've got all kinds of connections in the entertainment industry, right?
I wish that were the case. It's funny. I do have that still, but all of my publicity efforts came completely outside of that. I decided, I will be me. I will be real, and I will not box myself in. I will comment and address any topic that I feel that I could, whether as a woman, as an African, as an entrepreneur, anything.
Yeah.
I've spoken about mobile apps for my little ones.
Wow. Cool. So tell us a little bit about kind of the plan that somebody who's starting a business might use to get themselves some media attention. What are a couple of specific steps maybe that you give folks to help out there?
Great. So the first step is to figure out how you can provide value to a reporter or editor. And this is how you can provide value. Figure out a problem that needs to be addressed. For me, for example, the problem today is that families are struggling from paycheck to paycheck and they're not really thinking about the future. One way to solve that is, and I come up with 3 ways basically that they can start a family business. So come up with a problem that your reporters want addressed for their viewership or audience, and then you provide a solution to it. And it doesn't have to be directly related to your business. So if you sell pens, you're probably not going to get on for solving issues related to pens, but maybe you can go on and talk about the latest project you did through your service organization, and maybe it's fascinating. But at the end of that segment, your name is there, your business name, etc. So you just get on, get attention. Period.
Just get attention about anything.
Anything you can get attention about.
How do you get yourself in front of reporters and folks that might be able to get you into the media?
That's my favorite topic, because guess what? Remember those sales calls and cold calls that everyone hates to do?
Yeah.
No one likes to pick up the phone anymore?
Yeah. Ooh.
Pick up the phone. Start with your local media and start calling people. Don't leave voicemails. Call until you get them, and then you make your pitch. That's how I've been able to stand out. I call people. I don't just simply email anymore. Sometimes a simple email has been sufficient, but when it hasn't been sufficient, I definitely pick up the phone and call. I also use a service called Haro, H-A-R-O, helpareporterout.net, where you get queries through your email box where people are looking for expertise or comments or something, and then I will, forward my information. And so that's also been helpful. But I never just only restrict myself to emailing or online activities. I pick up the phone.
Excellent. Well, we know that Haro works because Haro has gotten you featured in an article that I wrote about successful mompreneurs. Perfect example. You're a mom as well as an entrepreneur that has nothing to do with family business, but you were a source in an article that I wrote about mompreneurs, and because of Haro, you're also right here on the How to Quit Working show. So it works.
Yes, it worked, and that was a great article, by the way. Thank you for the opportunity to be featured.
It's very popular. It's very popular. So let's talk a little bit about family business, because that's kind of your specialty, and I think we'd be doing our listeners a huge disservice to not pick your brain a little bit here on the How to Quit Working show about family business. I think there's a lot of folks out there who struggle as a family, and one of the things that I think is so interesting about family businesses is certainly there's challenges, and I know you'll talk about some of those, but families that have a business, it really creates a lot of security for them, and it creates an option. Certainly all children don't want to go into the family business, but it certainly creates an option for them. So talk a little bit about how a family business might help a family.
Absolutely. I am biased, of course, but I believe is the best option for families if they choose to pursue it. When you are running a family business together with your loved ones, people you trust, people who you know have your back, you have the confidence and security to soar. I've spoken to and interviewed family business owners who are third, fourth, fifth generation, and it stays that long in the family because you have each other's back. You trust one another. You're on the same page at the end of the day. And I just believe it's the future. It's old. Family business is very old, but it's new again. People are finally figuring out, if I'm going to invest 70, 80, 90 hours in building up something, why not do it with the people I know, love, and trust? And why not do something that creates a legacy and that, I can transmit to the next generation? I interviewed a family just today. This morning, they're owners of a franchise and nationwide. They're wildly successful, and the greatest benefit to them is I get to see my children and grandchildren every single day, and that is the most precious thing to me. And what a better way to transmit your values, your family values, your thoughts, your victories, your successes. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's the greatest educational vehicle. What better way to learn about entrepreneurship and life lessons and being, in the ground up of a family business? It's amazing. And it's really easy to start. There are different ways I tell people. You can pursue a franchise so you don't have to worry about the trial and error, although nothing is guaranteed, of course. But that is an option. There are many family-owned and operated franchises all over the place. And the second option would be to start from the ground up. There are many families who are inventors, and those are my favorites, inventor types, and they love to innovate and come up with brand new ideas never even heard of. You can get started with something brand new. And then the other concern, of course, is, we don't have money for that. Well, of course you do. Of course you do. You can start in small steps. You can leverage online. You can social media. I'm not anti-social media. You can leverage social media. Yeah. And any free tool you can to get it started. It's like any other business, but what you're doing is you're making the commitment to work with a family member to make sure that you strengthen those relationships, have open and transparent communication, and do well. I know that was a mouthful.
Absolutely. Well, it's not a topic I don't think that can be distilled into a couple of sentences. So it's a complex topic. But what would you say are maybe some questions that a family should ask themselves if they're considering going into a business together as a family?
The first question is, why not? Why not? And then
what if
after
you don't
that,
like your family?
I do get that a lot. Or, it's going to destroy us. Or, I could never work with my spouse. Or, lots of those. But you can't, who else would you really rather be in business with at the end of the day? Really, who else would you, if you can make it work, if you catch the vision that this is possible, who else would you want to be in business with? And so think about, first and foremost, how to maintain open communication. Capital does not destroy family business. Communication does.
Interesting.
If you don't have open communication, which causes stress and conflict, divorce, sibling rivalry, all of on and on will break up a family business, not capital.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. That's not what I would have expected. And I think if you have good lines of communication in a family, that probably helps you out with a lot of other things that have nothing to do with the family business.
Correct. Exactly. And it's the other things that really impact the family business.
So get that, just get that right, it sounds like. What are some other things that folks should consider if they're thinking about starting a family business?
Yes, especially those who are thinking about transitioning, right, from workplace to starting a family business, which I highly commend.
Yeah.
So
and that's our listeners.
Yes, absolutely. And so what you want to start doing is, it depends on the situation. So I have, I guess, co-preneurs on my mind because I've been talking to a lot of them all week. So these are the founders who are husband and wife teams or spouses. So what you could start doing right away is having one person pared down to one income if you haven't already. Just, in terms of not literally per se, but if you can make a way for you to work on one person's income and use the rest to invest in the business so that it could be grown successfully, that would be the first step. And then have one person focus on the strategic planning of the business and bring it to the other person. So the other person is hard at work, they're getting it done, while the other person is focusing on the strategic planning of the business, dealing with the money issues, all of that. And then when you feel that you're at the place where you can now transition full-time into family business, do it. Do it sooner rather than later. Don't second-guess yourself. Go for it.
This is something we've never talked about before on the show, and it's so interesting because the huge benefit that you bring up of family business is that, well, we all know that starting a business while you're working a full-time job is really, it's difficult. There's a lot of time pressure, and most folks have a family and other obligations as well. But you're pointing out a benefit that I never thought about, which is that if you start a business with, for example, your spouse, the co-preneur thing that you were talking about, you can have one person that remains in their job and continues working, continues providing some revenue, and still on the side is helping and supporting that other one who's already made the transition. What a great concept. Yes.
So now we have to hold every one of your listeners accountable, because at least 50% will have to go do that now and call you back and tell you that it worked out great. Yes, you can do it, guys. Come on, let's do it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Well, Daphne, what would be the biggest piece of advice that you would give to somebody out there who's listening and who's saying, yeah, I'm ready to do it. Let's go.
Well, the biggest piece of advice is work on strengthening your family relationship. So before you go out and try to get capital, get a coach. Not a business coach. Get a relationships coach. Whether this is your marriage coach, your sibling help me out coach, someone who's going to be focusing with you on your relationship. It's not capital that's going to do you in. It's going to be your dynamics in terms of your relationship. And it's not don't wait till it crashes and burns to go and find counseling or someone that can help you grow in your communication with someone and strengthen that relationship. Do it up front. Look at it, they say in the business books, get your attorney, get your accountant, get your marriage coach or your sibling coach or your counselor that you can go to on a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly basis and flesh out any issues that have to do with communications or being on the same page or whatever it is. I cannot stress that enough to you.
Excellent advice. So make sure, one of the big themes that you've given us, Daphne, is make sure that your relationships are in order before you start going into business together.
Absolutely. And, my spirituality, I am a Christian. The first relationship I must put in order is my relationship with God, first and foremost, and then my family, and then it trickles down to business and community development.
Excellent, excellent. Daphne, what's the last piece of advice you want to leave with our listeners with, knowing that we all want to create an amazing life just like you have?
Oh, well, thank you so much. The greatest piece of advice is that time really is your most valuable asset. And when you're thinking about transitioning out of work into a family business, the vision is that time is going to extend beyond you. Is going to go to your children, your children's children. You're leaving a legacy for generations to come. So if you really want to maximize your time, do it through family business. It's legacy building, and your time it goes well beyond you and your time here on earth.
Daphne, what does success mean to you?
Success to me means accomplishing everything that God created me to do here on earth, because I believe that's how I can serve my people, whoever he's assigned me to, with this message of family business. Ultimately, I want to take this message to my country, my home country, Liberia. And if I could do that, then I've attained success.
You've got a drive to take the concepts of entrepreneurship back to your home country of Liberia.
Oh yeah, we've been through 2 civil wars. The country needs to be rebuilt. We are going through the Ebola crisis right now. All of these things, it's just this constant onslaught of hardship that my people have had to deal with. And I really do believe that not just entrepreneurship, but also family business is the way to rebuild my country. And so that's, hopefully you'll see me in the next 5 years doing more about that.
I know for a fact that we will. Daphne, where can we go to get more information about you and your business?
Well, thank you so much. You can go to my blog where I write more in family business as well as entrepreneurship education, daphnemallory.blogspot.com. But also, you have to check me out on Likebook. I just posted a crazy video called How to Properly Warm Up for Speaking Engagements, and there I am dancing and warming up my room. So we have fun on my Facebook page. My blog is very serious, but my Facebook page, Daphne Mallory Entrepreneur, is a lot of fun, but you also get more tips and advice on family business and entrepreneurship education.
Well, we will link all of that up below, daphnemallory.com and Daphne Mallory on Facebook. All the links will be on the page below at howtoquitworking.com. Daphne, thanks so much for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing your hard-earned advice and your great and unique perspective about family business and entrepreneurship, and I wish you the best of everything you do in the future.
Well, thanks, Jeff, and I wish the same for you, too.
What a great show and great advice from Daphne. I love the advice that she gave. You know, she's just so down to earth and practical and superbly passionate, extremely passionate about what she does, and just loves helping people, and she loves the idea of family business. So great stuff. Go over and check her out at her website. It's all linked up below the show at howtoquitworking.com. And if you're ready to quit your job and start a business and just jump in with both feet like Daphne has and have an amazing life, maybe that's with your family, maybe it's not with your family, go over to howtoquitworking.com/coaching and find out how you can get an experienced mentor to be right at your side the entire process, so that you don't make the same mistakes that everybody makes, so that you can have somebody to help you avoid the pitfalls, so that you can have somebody to answer that question of, how do I market this business? And just somebody there to be your support and be there to help you out along the way. Go to howtoquitworking.com/coaching, get more information about coaching, and I will talk to you on the next time on the How to Quit Working Show.
Thanks for joining us on the How to Quit Working Show. Tune in next time when we'll talk to another amazing person just like you, who is now living the ultimate life of freedom and doing it on their terms. If you want to learn how to quit working and get these episodes delivered directly to you, visit howtoquitworkingshow.com.